Hello to everyone. I'm glad you joined with us again. Today, I want to speak on the subject of not fighting alone. And so we'll look at 1 Samuel chapter 17, and we'll begin at verse 8. And so it says, And he stood and cried to the armies of Israel and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye the servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. So this is Goliath. So this is the the story of David and Goliath. But I want to look at some spiritual insight, uh, principles that's involved in the story that's very important uh, for us to understand today. And so this is what Goliath is saying to the people of Israel. And so he asked him the question, why are you come out to set your battle in array? And so instead of everybody fighting, and so he want them to choose one person out of from them, from among themselves, to come down and to fight him alone. And so these people, the Philistines, are the aggressors in this. And so the person is coming up against us. There's a force, there's a power, there's something, there's a nation that's coming up against us to do us harm. Then they don't get also to dictate how that you are to respond. And so when we have to defend ourselves, so then we need to be able to defend ourselves according to our best understanding, what we understand that we need to do. Not to get instructions from the aggressor, to tell us to come up with a plan as to how we should respond. And so that's very important because I believe that this is a spiritual matter that we need to understand. So sometimes when we're coming up against something and dealing with things today, and so with the things that's going on in this country today, that we as a people, so we understand the matters that are taking place today is very critical to us as a person, to our families that's coming up, to our sons, to our daughters, and to our own personal well-being. And so, but we want to be able to operate under the correct principles according to the instructions of the Lord as to what we need to do, and so that we can obtain a super deliverance that come from the power of God. And so, but if they were to listen to the Philistine, he would have them to operate in a principle that would cause them to be defeated, that would give him an advantage. And so that he can use his leverage, his strength, his power against just one person. Rather than if they felt like that they need to double team you, or triple team you, or whatever they need to do to defend themselves, then they should, by right, to be able to do that. But he wanted to set a plan for them to send one person by himself. So we have to be careful and make sure that we maintain a fellowship, that we band together. And so this is not something that we're dealing with today that is just a personal thing, just for one person. And so we as a people, and so must obtain instructions and deliverance by the power of God. So we need to be able to hear from God. We need to be able to hear from God. So let's go look at verse 1, 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 1. And then it says, so now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shokoth, which belonged to Judah, and pitched between Shokoth and Azekah in Ephraim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side. And there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. So Goliath was 9 feet 9. And he had on a helmet of brass upon his head. He was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And so he had an armor, a coat of mail to help prevent him being pierced with a sword or arrow or spear. And that coat of armor weighed about 125 pounds. And he had a covering over his head. And he had graves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And he had a brass javelin that he could use. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spearhead weighed 600 shekels of iron. And one bearing the shield went out before him, and he had a 15-pound head on the spear. And so he could do some. You could be killed. It's what it shows. And so he had the weaponry to kill. And so then now they're coming out army against army. Then he comes out and speak these words. That he stood and cried to the armies of Israel, said, "Why are you come out to set yourselves in battle array?" Because that's what they're supposed to do. You come out to battle against them, and so they have to take a stand. And so that is the principle that things operate on. And so if the enemy is coming up against us, the enemy forces, we have things that is working against us, then we have to take a stand. And so as the people of God, our defense, our victory comes directly from the Lord. And so it's important that we be able to hear it from the Lord. So they were doing the right thing in standing up against the aggressor, standing up against the enemy, coming out for battle. And so that was the right thing. And so the question he's asking is not making sense, but it is a strategy that is used by the enemy. Because sometimes today, people get the wrong idea as to what they need to be doing. And so instead of banding together, and so we need to continue to band together, work together as we begin to understand, as we're going up against the things that we're going up against, to understand that we are a people and we need help from the Lord, and so that we can join together in prayer and in faith, and so that the Lord can give us what we need to defeat this that we're coming up against. But he wants somebody to separate themselves and come alone, and so that it'll give him the advantage, and so that he can possibly defeat that person. And then the rest of the people agree to submit to allow themselves to be put under bondage. And so he says, just choose you a man. And so in verse 9, if he's able to fight with me and to kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then ye shall be our servants and serve us. And so whoever person that you send down, he has to be prepared to die, because the intent is that he's going to be killed. And so that's what Goliath is saying. I'm not gonna just pin you down and then you surrender. And so I'm gonna kill that person that you send down, and then we're gonna enslave the rest. And then the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day, but give me a man that we may fight together. And so he want to expose, and so defy, to expose, to defame, or bring reproach against, or disgrace, or discredit the army. So I want to disgrace the army of Israel today. And so you send me down a man, and so you don't have a man that's able to fight with me. But this is a strategy. This is a strategy of the enemy, because they are in a state that they're not really hearing from God. Because remember, when we go back up, he's saying, why you set out the battle? He say, I'm a Philistine and you are servants to Saul. And so that's a problem, because if they are only servants to Saul, communication has been cut off from the Most High. So in a couple of chapters earlier, and so Saul had failed on his assignment for the Lord. And so the Lord is going to remove him from the position that he's in. And so, but the people is not aware that Saul is no longer able to hear from the Lord. And so he don't know what to do. He's not getting instructions from the Lord. And so we got to be careful. that no matter where we go, what church, whatever that you join with, we're going to make sure that you can always hear from God for yourself, that you have a personal relationship with God. Because if you are just a servant to Saul and not a servant to the Lord, so there's nothing wrong with serving the king. But if you're a servant to Saul and not a servant to the Lord, then you'll be hoping that Saul can hear from God for you, and so that you can be delivered. And so if you are only a servant to Saul, and then you have no personal relationship yourself with the Most High God, you're dependent on Saul's relationship with God to help you along the way. And that's not good. We want to make sure that we have a personal relationship that is intact with the Most High God. And so if we are only a servant to Saul, then we have no testimony or experience of deliverance to draw from, and, to encourage ourselves when we are in trouble. And so we should have a testimony or a personal experience with God that that we can use, that we can draw upon to encourage ourselves when trouble comes. And so we see that the intent is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But he want them to send one person to stand alone. Sometimes you need support around you. So we're not required to separate from your help and from your support and from people that can encourage us along the way. So that makes us be more vulnerable. And then he's speaking these words to cast doubt into your mind that you will be able to make it. And so it's to defeat us before we even get started. And so it says, when Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. And so that dismayed to break down with fear, terror. So they was in terror. They was terrified at the words that's coming from Goliath, because he wanted to send down one man. And so then this going to be right in front of everybody. And so Saul was broke down with fear on hearing this, and evidently probably imagined himself being really just torn apart, by Goliath and the men of Israel. So the army of the Lord, now is in a state where they're greatly afraid. And so then verse 16, it says that the Philistine drew near morning and evening and presented himself for 40 days. So this went on for a while. And so Goliath intimidating the people to keep that fear going, to implant fear into their heart and into their mind, cast doubt into their heart, into their mind, and then to put in their mind that you need to be able to stand alone to come down, to get out of this thing. And so that's coming from him. And so that's what he's telling them. And so, but everybody, is lacking in confidence, not able really to hear from the Lord. And so seeing that the imagination was captured, and so that all that they could see was themselves not being able to go down to meet this challenge. And so, but let's look at verse 21. And so, for Israel and the Philistines had put their battle in array, army against army. And so they still was doing one thing right. They still was standing up against the army that had the intent to come down to invade them. They still stood up, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hands of the keeper of the carriage and ran into the army and came and saluted his brother. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the army of the Philistine, and spake according to the same words. And so now David is here, so he's there to bring something to his brothers. And now this Goliath shows up, and so it's army against army. With earlier verse said. And so now, but Goliath comes out, and so then Goliath come out and speaking these words. And then it says, all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, they fled from him and were so afraid. And so these are the Lord's people. And so they show us that when the Lord's people are in a situation, that we're not hearing from the Lord instructions and encouragement from the Lord, that whatever enemy come that seem to be unbeatable, that we can win in this battle. We listen to the wrong instructions and information. He's telling you to come down here alone and by yourself. You don't have the faith, you don't have the courage, you don't have the confidence. Your imagination is only generating your own defeat. And he's telling you to come down here like this against him. And so he's coming out then and got the people on the run. The men of Israel, the Lord's people, got them on the run. And so, and then, and when the men of Israel and the men of Israel said, "Have ye seen this man that has come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up, and it shall be the man who killeth him. The king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel." And so let's go down to verse 32. And so it says, and David said to Saul, "Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with the Philistine." And Saul said to David that you are not able to go up against this Philistine and to fight with him, because thou art but a youth. And he a man of war from his youth. And so this man been training for years as a warrior. And so David was most likely, from the best I can understand the scripture, was most likely in his teens. So wasn't fully a full adult at the time. And so, but he did have an experience already with the Most High God. And so, like I said, not being a servant just to Saul, to have your experience limited to what Saul is able to do and hear from the Lord. And so let's see what David said. And David said to Saul, "Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear and took the sheep out of the flock. And I went after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he rose up against me, I caught him by his beard, and I smote him, and I slew him. And your servant slew both the lion and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be one of them, seeing that he hath defied the armies of the living God." And so David now is drawing on a personal experience that he had with God. And he's able to spiritually see something in this. And so he's got some spiritual insight into this that is coming up against them. So that's why it's good to be able to hear from the Lord. And so David can see something in this. He's saying that this uncircumcised Philistine is going to be like the lion and the bear that the Lord gave him the power. So David knew that it wasn't his natural strength that gave him the ability to and deliver him from the paw of the lion and from the bear, but it was the power of God. And so he see also that that we are up against now is not something that belongs to us for the fight. It's only belongs to us to show up, and the Lord is going to fight this thing, because this is against the Lord. He said, "What I see is a sin that he has defied the armies of the living God." And so then verse 37, David said, "Moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and the bear, he will deliver me out of the hands of this Philistine." And Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Then Saul went to put on, Saul armed David with his armor and put his helmet of brass upon his head, also armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, tried to go, and for he had not proved them. And David said to Saul, "I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them." And David put them off from him. So David wasn't comfortable with Saul's armor and gear and stuff on him, and so he didn't use that. And so he took his staff in his hand, and so he had a staff, and he chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a strip, and the sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near to David. And the man that bare his shield went before him. And so, when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, belittled him, because for he was but a youth, and so most likely in his teens, and ready. and so found continents. And so, and the Philistines said unto David, am I a dog that thou comest out unto me with sticks, with staff? And so, the Philistine cursed David by his God. So we know it's all a spiritual thing that's behind him, that he's empowered by his God. Goliath is empowered by his God. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I'll give your flesh to the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. And so, but he don't like the fact that David is coming. And so David looked pretty much unarmed because he don't have only an armor. He don't even have a sword with him. He got the staff in his hand, and he got the sling in his hand. And so Goliath really don't like this. This is really got him upset. That he's coming like this, and so he's expecting something much different, and so he's ready to just destroy him. And then David said to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. And so, but then he is showing that he's not coming alone. And so in this, and so he's saying, you coming with a sword, with a shield, with a spear, but I come in the name of the Lord of hosts. And so that Lord of hosts is a host is a mass of people organized for war. It's an assembly. It's an army. And so the God that you have defied is a God that has armies. And so right now, the army, and so he has an army that you can't see, that's up in the heavens, that do work for him in the earth. And so, but the army down here on the earth, you have intimidated, but the army on high is unshaken. And so I come to you in the name, and so I'm not alone because he is the Lord of hosts. He's the Lord of an army, of armies in heaven, the army on earth. And so I'm not alone. There's something that's more to what you see. And so, so you're depending on what you can see. And so you're looking at me. And so, but there is something that is that's working with me that you can't see, that you can't see. And then he says, verse 46, this day will the Lord deliver you into my hand, and I'll smite you and take your head from you, and I give your carcasses to the host of the Philistines. Give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day to the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And now the people of the Lord do have a God. And so, but we need to worship, to pray, and to call upon that God, and he will give us power. He will give us victory in all the situations. But the power of the saints is in the saints banding together, especially in this time when there's something that is working against us all over the country, that's working against us as a people. But as the people of the Lord get an understanding and begin to engage together to seek the face of the Lord, so the Lord will display his power and bring deliverance to his people. And so all is going to see. And so we're going to see the outcome of what happened even here in America. And so we'll see the outcome because the people, God is instructing and showing his people what to do. And then to show that David is really not alone. And look at this next verse. And so in his mind, he's not seeing himself coming by himself. He said the Lord of hosts, the Lord of an army of people. It's the one that I'm coming in his name. And so, but then right here, it says, verse 47, and all this assembly, so the people are there. And so the armies of the Lord's people are there. And so then in this situation, David did not have it set up that he'll go out and fight Goliath and everybody else can go home. No, you got to show up on the battlefield ready to do battle. And so he said, all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with the sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And so the supernatural power of God is going to come in and going to defeat you. And so he's not crediting that with his skill and throwing the sling or throwing a rock, that's going to defeat Goliath. He didn't credit it with that. He said the Lord, and then notice what he said. He said the Lord is going to do battle. He said the battle belongs to the Lord. And so it's really not really us, but we're the instrument that he's going to use. And so he wants somebody to show up. We got to work with the Lord. He wants the enemy is coming against us. But now this battle is the Lord's personal battle, because you have defied his army and you open your mouth and you spoke. And so but when you spoke against the Lord's army, you spoke against him. And so now he's going to defeat you. He's going to deliver you into our hand. And so he said, for the battle is the Lord. He would give you into our hands. And so not only is David going to get the victory, that people, the Lord's people, is going to experience victory today. He's going to give this battle into our hand. That's why you got to show up. You still got to summon. You still got to get together and be partakers of what the Lord is doing. Be partakers of the prayer, of the praise, of the worship. And so you be partaker of the victory when it breaks loose. And so he wants you on standby. And then he said, and it'll come to pass, and it came to pass that the Philistine arose and came and drew near nigh to meet David, and David hastened toward that army to meet the Philistine. And so sometimes we got to make sure that we move with the Lord, that we're not moving too slow. We got to move with the Lord. When the Lord gives us instructions, showing us what to do, we want to be moving with the Lord. And so David put his hand in his bag, and so he's on his way to him. Took a dance of stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead and he fell on his face to the earth. And so David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw that champion was dead, they fled. And so, and the men of Israel and Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until they came to the valley, to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way of Sharam, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistine, and they spoiled their tents. And so now they gained something. They took the things that they had because you was the aggressor against us. And so we see right now the same, because somebody was inspired. So David wasn't going alone. I got an army that's with me. You want to fight one man, it ain't coming like that. I got an army that you can't see. And the Lord is going to deliver you into my hand. And then the people still was required to be there. So they were there. Because when God unleashed his power against this Philistine and against this nation, those people took off. So now the Lord's people that one time was running, they shouted when they saw that their enemies was on the run through the power of God. And so these things are spiritual principles that are very effective today. And so we are not fighting alone. There's a force, there's a power in seeking the face of the Lord that we need to tap into today. And so we need to band together. And so we're not in this alone. So we are in this together. And so the more that we understand that we are together and we band together with the prayer, with the praise, with the worship, we're standing before the Most High God, the Lord will put the enemy on the run, and the victory will come. He said, not just, David didn't say, not just to me, but the Lord is going to deliver your army into our hand. We all is going to experience that victory. And so it's not just about the one single person, but it's about the Lord's people being inspired to go forth, that you will go forth under the inspiration of God and put yourself in a position that you need to be in so the Lord can use you, and so that you will be encouraged to go forth and experience the victory that the Lord want to work through you. So that's the message for today. trust that you was able to gain something, some kind of encouragement or faith from the message. And so we'll pray at this time. So, righteous Father, we thank you, Lord, for this word today. I pray, Lord, that you would encourage your people, give us the right understanding, spiritual insight and understanding, give us the victory over the situations and things that we are faced with today. Cause your people to be victorious, Lord. And so we thank you for it, oh God. And we praise your name in Jesus' name. And so that's it, my friend, the message for the day. I ask that you would like to subscribe unto this channel. And so the Lord be with us until the next time.